Thanks, Kim. Really appreciate it. It is so wonderful to see all of you. Before we get started, before we go any further, just want to say a big thank you to Debbie, to the Wilson boys. Really appreciate your allowing me to come back for the 5th year here at Lemonade Cinco. So my name is Mike Cohen. I am a lawyer with a law firm called Duane Morris. I am based, as Kim said, in the absolutely great city of Philadelphia. Our conversation today, and we do have the chat open, so I am hopeful that to the extent you are comfortable sharing, it can become more of a conversation. Our conversation today is all about the mental health imperative, making sure that we are taking care of our coworkers, making sure we are taking care of those people who report to us, but as importantly, making sure that day to day we are taking care of ourselves. And I want to start, if you'll indulge me, with a quote from one of my favorite people ever on this planet. And that person was Robin Williams, actor, comedian, say with no hyperbole or exaggeration, a true genius. And attributed to Robin Williams, somebody who, in a real way, dealt with mental health concerns through the entirety of his life. Attributed to Robin Williams is probably my favorite thing anybody has ever said out loud in front of other people. And that is, everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. Be kind always. Everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. And I do not think truer words have ever been uttered. And it's interesting because as administrators, as leaders in our firms, we all understand that statement fundamentally to be true. We all understand it is without question completely valid. And many of us apply that to those who report to us or for those whom we have responsibility. And far too often these days, we forget to apply it to ourselves. And where I want to start today with regard to this mental health imperative is ensuring that we are taking care of ourselves. And you see the graphic before you, you see the image before you, and you know, of course, the metaphor that is attendant to that graphic. And it's the 2 oxygen masks, and when you get on a plane, the flight attendant makes the announcement that, heaven forbid, something were to happen on the plane, and you are traveling with someone who is unable to do so. Put your mask on first before you attempt to render help to anyone else. And while the metaphor is a little bit old and a little bit tired, I don't think it's any less true today than it ever has been. If we are not able to, or more often than not the case, not willing to pay attention to our own mental health concerns, our own needs, I just don't know how helpful, how useful we are going to be to anyone else. And I will tell you, this is something that I actually experienced about 7 months ago. For the first time in a very, very long time in my life, I dealt with real, tangible, impactful mental health concerns. And best I could tell, it all emanated from a single event. Now, before I get to that event, let me please say, again, without being self-indulgent, I'm incredibly blessed. I am truly, truly lucky. I am married to a woman with whom I am deeply and madly in love and who I really, really like a lot. I have 2 daughters who are like the baddest ass people I've ever met in my life. And not only do I love them, I like them. Not only is there a dad-daughter relationship, there is a mutual respect that exists. I have a job that is wildly gratifying. I get to coach 12, 13, 14 young women every year, and my heart and my existence is full. I'm truly happy. the overwhelming majority of the time. But I didn't feel like that towards the middle part and the end of last summer. And all of it seemed to emanate from this single event. And that event was our younger daughter, Maddie, leaving for college, which seems a little odd, but let me give you some of the background. I had a very different relationship with both of my girls as they grew from small kids into young women. And my relationship with my older daughter, Mia, she was my best friend from the time she kind of came out. And as a young child, she would walk around, saying things like, "I love my mom, but I love my dad more." I'm like, "Shh, that's my girl." And Mia left for college, and I was sad, and I missed her like crazy, but I was never really worried about her. My relationship with Maddie was very different. When Maddie was born, and for the first couple of years of her life, we called her Good Time Maddie, GTM, which is a nickname which fortunately has gone away. We called her GTM, we called her Good Time Maddie, because Good Time Maddie was a party all the time. She was the kid that you could wake up in the middle of the night and play with. She was the kid, and I will never forget leaving Disney World in one of these double strollers right as the park was closing, and Mia's passed out in the back of the cart, and Maddie's up front, and we've got the blanket in front, so for the love of God, go to sleep. And she's peeking out, and she's waving at everybody. That was Matt's. She was Good Time Maddie. She was GTM. And as Maddie started to get a little bit older, and really this day, she developed and has dealt with this kind of meaningful anxiety condition. And I'll tell you, I didn't deal with it well. Maddie and I were tough to be around. We bickered constantly. We would fight. We would argue. I fundamentally didn't understand how to react or how to respond. I was an ass. And once Mia left for college, Maddie and my relationship changed. I started spending way more time with her. I was always with Mia, and Jamie, my wife, was always with Matt. I started spending a lot more time with Maddie. Part of it was because of softball. Part of it was because she started a business and from time to time would come and ask me questions. And we got to have a similar but different kind of relationship that Mia and I always had. And then she was getting ready to leave. And I was debilitatingly sad. Not, oh, I'm a little bit upset. I wasn't sleeping for weeks at a time. I was crying constantly. The last thought before I closed my eyes was Maddie. The first thought when I woke up, which was intermittent throughout the course of the night, was Maddie. I was worried about her. I was nervous to a degree that not only was I anxious, I was developing physical manifestations of anxiety. And I have this buddy named Andy. Andy lives in the hood. Andy lives in my neighborhood. And everybody should have an Andy, by the way. He's one of the best human beings I know. And one of the things that Andy and I do when we're both around the hood for extended periods of time is once a week, twice a week, we'll go out and we'll get a cup of coffee, walk around the neighborhood. And at this time, in mid to late August, we went for one of those walks. And I shared with Andy the fact that I was struggling. Because Andy's somebody you can tell these kinds of things to. And he said to me, and Andy has daughters who are about the same age as mine, and he said, listen, man, like that sounds really hard. I don't exactly know what to say. I've not experienced that. Chloe and Chelsea, very great relationship with them, but I've never had this kind of an experience. I mean, it kind of kept walking. And at some point during the walk, we reached a corner where there was a traffic light. We had a red. And Andy kind of took me by the shoulder, and he said something to me that was incredibly impactful. What Andy said to me is there are two kinds of people in the world. Those who struggle and liars. It made me feel a little bit better. Each and every one of us, from time to time, is going to endure one of those battles that Robin Williams talked about that we can't handle on our own. And I did the things that I typically do, tried to exercise more, tried to eat better, tried to get more sleep, which of course wasn't working. So I reached out to Aubrey, the therapist with whom I had worked at certain points in my life. And she's smarter than I am. And she's dealt with these issues all the time. And she armed me with some tools that I did not have, that enabled me to work on myself a little bit. And the anxiety dissipated. And the sleep came back. And the crying stopped. I mean, I still cry at commercials, but the crying that I'm referring to stopped. And was it in part because Mads was just thriving at the University of Michigan, go Blue? Sure. Do I still worry about her from time to time? Of course. My baby girl. But it was very clear to me that in that moment, I could not be of use to anybody, let alone to myself, if I didn't get the help that I needed. Everyone you meet, including yourself, is fighting a battle that you know nothing about. So my question for all of you, before we go any further, is who in this group has a regular and formal self-care plan? Who in this group, and if you're comfortable doing so, and not everybody is, and that is just fine, in the chat, yes or no, who has a regular and formal self-care plan? And while I cannot see the chat, I suspect the answer from most people is no. Rich is nodding at me. Yeah, most of us do not. And my question for you is why not? Because logically, we all understand, don't we, that we have to take care of ourselves if we are going to be of service in any way to anybody else. So why not? And there are a number of reasons why we don't think to take care of ourselves. Number one, there is emotional labor associated with self-care. I don't have time to worry about this. The stresses that exist in my life day to day inhibit and very often prohibit my ability to take the minutes that it will require for me to engage in activities that are going to make me feel better. Let me just say this out loud. That's crap. So you don't have time to give to yourself to do things that you will know make yourself feel better, but the struggle isn't going to take up any time at all. We understand what I'm saying. It feels indulgent. And this is kind of where I was when I was struggling with Mads. It's like, how dare I, when there are people who have real struggles on a daily, on a weekly, on a monthly, on a yearly, for the entirety of their lives on that basis, how dare I think to even consider being so self-indulgent as to take care of myself with this sort of minor problem. It wasn't minor. The issues with which all of us deal are impacting our lives on a daily basis, and if we simply ignore them, they're not going to go away. It's not part of my culture. And I don't mean your origins. I mean sort of who you are. This is not part of my culture is akin to a phrase that many of you have heard me use in the past, which is, back in my day. It's not in my culture. It's such an anachronistic notion that we don't all from time to time need some kind of help. I don't know how to help myself. That one I get. There are so many resources available. You heard Alan earlier this morning quote his dad, Spike. You heard him talk about the resources that we have and that are available. You know, Andy was my resource. My wife, Jamie, was my resource. My goodness, my older daughter, Mia, who, notwithstanding the fact that I never said a word to her about the fact that I was struggling, was checking on me constantly. Listen, read, consume. And then, of course, I'm the only one out here who feels like this, which is about the untruest statement that can be made. So what can we do? One of the tricks, for lack of a better word, is focus on your body budget. There's only so much time we can allow ourselves to stress, to stay inside of our own head. And there are small things we can do with regard to this body budget, sort of micro workouts, which help us feel better. If you're in a building, walk up and down stairs. Endorphins and the release of endorphins is real. It makes people scientifically, not all the time and and only to certain degrees, but it makes people feel better. Avoid, to the extent that you can, Zoom calls, team calls, first thing in the morning, late at night. Impacts the way you think, certainly can impact your mental health and your ability to sleep. Give yourself permission to extend yourself empathy. Give yourself a break. You talk, I know you do, as leaders to others about they're giving themselves grace. Why can't you extend that same grace to yourself? It's okay not to be okay. Celebrate small successes and savor those moments in which you achieve those successes, irrespective of how small or how large. Be self-congratulatory when you achieve a goal. Prioritize small and steady. You've heard me talk about the concept of relentless incrementalism in the past. And the whole idea behind relentless incrementalism is that change is not facilitated usually by giant steps. The way change is facilitated is through small steps that are unrelenting. We are constantly moving things forward. Sorry for the sports analogy. One of my favorite athletes in Philadelphia right now is a guy by the name of Tyrese Maxey, who went from being a mid-first round draft pick to one of the best 10 players in the NBA. And if you ask him how he was able to achieve the level of success that he has, he'll tell you, I try to get 1% better every day. He didn't say, I try to make this giant leap. He said, I tried to get a little bit better each day. Prioritize small steps. Prioritize steadiness, relentless incrementalism, and find an accountability buddy. Find someone else with whom you can enjoy this relentless incrementalism. If it's part of your body budget and it's a small exercise, do it with somebody or check in with each other. If it's eating better, as several people who have spoken today referred to, talk about that. Sleep patterns. Have that kind of accountability buddy. Have that person or those people with whom you work, with whom you live in real life. And make that person your barometer. Make that person somebody who's checking in with you to make sure that you're okay. You are that person from time to time that is fighting the battle that nobody else knows about. Be kind to yourself. Give yourself the grace. Take those kinds of formal steps. Create the formal self-care plan. Now, as leaders, many of us, certainly include myself in this group, we have this almost pathological need to help. We need to assist in other people becoming the best version of themselves. And that can only be achieved when mental health is prioritized. And I will tell you, I got into the law because it was my understanding that there would be no math. But even with what are my extraordinarily limited math skills, there are numbers to me that are pretty compelling, and you see some of them before you right now. And these are numbers from an organization called the National Alliance on Mental Illness, one of the foremost organizations in the US studying mental health in the workplace. And what NAMI has told us is over 25% of all US adults suffer from some diagnosable mental health disorder each year. The rate of suicidal ideation has increased in American adults every year over the last 15, every year since 2011. While about 2/3 of US employees say that they're struggling with some kind of mental health concern each year, fewer than 20% have actually used mental health benefits that they have access to. And if that number is not scary enough, this is the one that is horrifying, that really should worry all of us. And that is the average period of time between the onset of mental health symptoms and the receipt of treatment is 11 years. Sit with that number for just one moment. 11 years. Would you ever allow a physical manifestation of some kind of injury or illness to go on for 11 years without first seeking treatment? I hope the answer to that question is no. But we do with mental health. And by the way, again, got into the law because it was my understanding there would be no math, so you'll check me on this. That means for every person who seeks help, like I did in year one, there's someone else who waits 21 years to get that same help. Why? Stigma. Why? Nobody else is doing it. Why? Back in my day, this wasn't a problem. Why? Fear of adverse career consequences, because we as leaders are not making clear to our employees that it is in fact okay not to be okay. And we as leaders, we do bear some of the burden for the ignoring by our employees of their mental health concerns. About 74% of all leaders surveyed said that employees expect too much mental health support. First of all, I have no earthly idea what that sentence even means. Expect too much mental health support? Again, not totally sure what that means. About 70% saying offering mental health benefits is too costly. To quote my favorite comedian, John Mulaney, first of all, no, that's just not accurate. Second, you know what that number does not consider? Loss of efficiency, loss of productivity, all as a result of people not being mentally present or not being physically present. In the office, 69% of leaders say mental health benefit priorities, mental health should not be a priority now because it was not when? Back in my day. I picked myself up by my bootstraps. First of all, you were born on third base and think you hit a triple, pal. Just rub some dirt in it. Just walk it off. That's not how this works. And here's the other problem with that kind of anachronistic, that kind of outdated, that kind of, yeah, I'll say it, dangerous thinking. Here's the problem. The leaders who think this way, they're wrong. And the American Psychological Association has pointed out that they are wrong, because what the APA said in a study a couple of years ago was that 81% of respondents to this survey will look for workplaces that support mental health when they are seeking job opportunities. So what can we do? What can HR leaders? What can administrators? What can law firm leaders? What can we do? So this guy, he's walking down the street, and he falls into a hole. And the walls are steep, and there's no ladder, and there's no rope, and there is no means of ingress, or he is not getting out of this hole. And a few minutes after he falls into the hole, a doctor walks by. Doctor looks down in the hole. Guy screams up, "Can you help me?" Doctor writes out a prescription, throws into the hole, keeps on walking. A few minutes after that, a member of the clergy walks by. Looks down in the hole, writes out a prayer, throws into the hole, keeps on walking. A few minutes after that, a friend walks by. A leader walks by. And the guy screams up, "Can you help me? I'm stuck in this hole." And without hesitation, The friend, the leader, jumps in the hole. Our guy's stunned. What do you do? Now we're both down here. And the leader looks at him and he says, yes, but I've been down here before and I know the way out. That's how we lead. We get in the damn hole. Words are good. Actions matter a whole hell of a lot more. Get in the hole day to day. The best leader I've ever seen in my entire life. She lives in that hole. You heard Kim mention it, and anybody that's known me for more than 4 seconds or follows me on any form of social media knows that I am a softball coach. Outside of being called husband, outside of being called dad, my favorite thing in the whole wide world to be called is Coach Mike. And I don't coach some adorable little softball team. The young women whom I coach, these are Division I, Division II, Division III softball players every year. My girls can ball. And we had a game a couple of summers ago where we gave up 12 runs in the first inning of a game. Now, I don't know if you know anything about softball, but that's too many runs. And the girls were kicking the ball around like they were playing soccer. And whether it's theater, whether it's sports, when you make a mistake, very often mistakes become contagious. The girls caught a bug and were booting the ball all over the floor, all over the field for that first inning. Girls came off the field and they were embarrassed. They were humiliated. They were pissed because there were college coaches there to watch. And I'm not a yeller as a coach. I'll yell, but not at somebody, in excitement, but not at somebody. So I told the girls, like, let's channel our inner Ted Lasso, right? Be a goldfish. Organism is one of the shortest memories in the world. Flush it. Next play. All those things you tell players in situations like this. And I told them, look, forget that happened, right? It's a nothing game, and we are just going to play the rest of this game the way we play the game. We're playing small ball. We're bunting. We're going first to third. We're going to be aggressively, defensively and offensively. And wouldn't you know it, we get to the bottom of the seventh inning, and we are losing 13-11. And you play 7 innings in softball. It is the bottom of the 7th inning. We are down 2 runs, and it is 2nd and 3rd. The tying run is on second base. We are about to fight all the way back in this game. It's 2nd and 3rd, 2 outs, and Sarah Smith's up. Smitty. And I've coached Smitty since she was 11 years old. 2nd and 3rd, 2 outs, Sarah Smith is up. And I can see it in my head. Smitty's going to get a knock. Both runs are going to score. She's one of the fastest kids on her team. She's going to steal second. The next girl up is a very good bunter. She's going to bunt. Smitty's going to score from second. I got it in my head, and I'm jumping up and down, coaching third base, because I can see this happening. We are going to win this game, 14-13, and Smitty struck out. And we lost 13-11, and I could not possibly have cared less about the score of that game, about the final outcome of that game. I'm not sure I've ever been prouder of a group of young women than I was that day. Sarah didn't see it the same way. She was hysterical crying. She could not get out of her head. I tried every dad joke I had, and nothing was working. And the way these tournaments, these showcases work is you play 3 games on Saturday, and then Sunday you play till you lose. Well, this was our 3rd game on Saturday. We were on a field that was going to be dead after we were done playing, so there was no rush. So the girls are moving slowly. And I looked down the first base line, and Sarah still got her helmet on. She's still crying. She does not have the wherewithal even to get this thing off of her head. So I'm about to walk down to talk to Sarah, and I feel somebody grab my right shoulder. Coach Mike, I got this. This is my leader that I started telling you about. And by the way, this is a young woman who doesn't lead the way very often athletes lead. She is not loud. She is not demonstrative. She is not theatrical. She leads with empathy. She leads with understanding. She is the young woman that everybody on every team on which she has ever played has come to when they have a concern. And year in and year out is voted captain by her players. Because she's the best player on every team? No. Because she's the loudest and most fiery player on every team? No. because she's the one they want them leading. She's the one they want to lead them. So I feel this tug on my shoulder. Coach Mike, I got this. And she starts walking down, and she looks at Sarah. And the way softball helmets work is there's a mask in the front. And she grabs that mask, both hands, and she is grill to grill with Sarah. And I hear the conversation. Smitty. Could have been any of us. Hell, it was all of us in the first inning. Smitty, you don't make that catch in the fourth, we lose the game. You don't get that double in the fifth to score 3 runs, game is over. Sarah, I love you. Sarah, every girl back here has your back just like you love us, just like you have had our back. Helmet comes off. Smitty smiling. Coach Mike walks away crying. That's what Coach Mike does. We came back on Sunday. We won 4 games in a row. We won the whole thing. And the best player on every field that day, and it was not particularly close, was Sarah Smith. And there is one reason it happened. And by the way, she got recruited that day. There is one reason it happened. And that is because our leader got in the damn hole. Let me say it differently. She never leaves the hole. What are you doing day to day to make clear to your employees that it is okay not to be okay? Are we inspiring calm in the workplace? We understand that things are complicated. They are confusing. In moments, they are just plain scary. What are you doing to inspire calm in the people who report to us? Are you getting unhinged every time something goes a little bit sideways? I mean, realistically, the only thing we can predict is that things will go wrong from time to time. Perfection is not a thing that exists. What are you doing to inspire calm? Are your employees comfortable coming to talk to you with mistakes? Because failure is going to happen. Failure, by the way, is the breeding ground for innovation and creativity. Very often. What are you doing to inspire calm? You heard Maria earlier today refer to the binder carrier. Well, I'm going back to the binders. I used to work with a guy who literally threw binders. And I was small and I was quick and I always avoided the binders. He threw binders at people and then had fundamentally no understanding as to why he couldn't keep associates, why he couldn't keep paralegals, assistants with whom he worked. Are you inspiring calm? Do your employees understand? Do your partners, your shareholders, your professional managers, do they understand the impact it has on mental health, the impact it has on your workplace when they come unhinged or turn plaid the single time something goes a little bit sideways? Are you giving thanks? I don't understand. You want me to say thank you to somebody for doing their job? Like, I guess only if you want to keep them. And if this is somebody for whom an expression of gratitude is appropriate or necessary, I would think that that's somebody you want hanging around. You want to enhance somebody's mental health. Sometimes it takes nothing more than just saying thank you for a job well done. You heard Stephanie in the last hour talking about checking in with employees. And I loved what she said, because she said, is it about work? Sure, but it's about non-work. Because for us to understand what motivates our people, enhance their mental health experience at work, it's going to take some time for us to get to know them just a little bit better than we do today. I have on my calendar what I refer to all the time as impromptu scheduled check-ins. Bro, those words mean the opposite of each other. Yes, I understand that. They are scheduled for me as the leader. But I'm just popping by. Hey, really appreciate it. You're spending all that time on that project. So sorry you had to work over the weekend, but it is so truly appreciated. How can I, one of my favorite leadership phrases, how can I be of service to you? What is it that I, with the sort of juice I have around here, can do to enhance your experience? We talked about getting in the hole. Can we and have we created a culture of listening? inside of our organization, non-competitive, intellectual, compassionate listening. Shut the hell up and let someone talk. When an employee comes to talk to you, overwhelmingly, that is not an easy conversation for that person to have. Not an easy act or gesture for that employee to take. So when that employee comes to talk to you, turn this thing off, turn your phone off, turn your monitor off. Stay, to steal a phrase from the kids, locked in. Make sure they understand that you are there for them entirely. Don't interrupt. We share experiences, but we share experiences after the person's done talking. If we interrupt, you know what the person doesn't reach? They don't reach catharsis. If, on the other hand, we are able to close this and open these, and the person's able to talk to us uninterrupted, and they see that intellectually and compassionately we're listening, they may be able to reach this sense of catharsis, and now they're able to move forward a little bit more effectively than maybe they otherwise would have been able to move forward. Don't shy away from the hard conversation. Mental health dialogue is crucial. Now, might there be obligations on your part when an employee discloses to you the existence of a mental health concern, like letting HR know immediately because there may be FMLA ramifications, there may be ADA ramifications? Sure, but we stay locked in. We do not shy away. Embrace notions of equity in mental health. Folks, equity is not a bad word. Notwithstanding what some people, what some organizations, even some HR organizations, will have you believe, equity is crucial to the workplace experience, because what equity understands is that people come to our workplace with disparities, having experienced different things or not, opportunities or not. What does that have to do with mental health? A lot of us were raised to believe that mental health concerns aren't real, or they're a sign of weakness, or that we can fix them by, again, just walking it off or rubbing some dirt in it. Embrace notions of equity, be available, be accessible, and for the love of all that's holy, we need to eliminate the tolerance for jokes that minimize or marginalize mental health concerns. A project goes sideways, a deal you're working on doesn't work, some assignment you have doesn't go exactly as planned, and you joke it off, you laugh it off. I was having a PTSD moment. My ADHD kicked in. Somebody explain to me, and we allow it to happen every day. Explain to me why that's funny and acceptable. Would you ever, under the same circumstances, joke around? Oh, my leukemia, kicking my ass that day. No. What's the definition of a disability under the Americans with Disabilities Act? A physical or mental impairment that substantially limits a major life activity. A physical or mental impairment. Stop minimizing. Stop marginalizing the importance of mental health by allowing any form of tolerance for this kind of joking around. And finally, folks, some steps, small steps with massive impact we can take. One, has your firm yet established a mental health philosophy document? If not, what are you waiting for? This is your opportunity to break your arm patting yourself on the back about how important mental health is to our firm, and it better be. How important it is to our firm. Let employees know that they should feel free to disclose or not some kind of mental health concern. Let them know again, and it can't be for the first time, again, what kind of resources are available to them and to whom or with whom they should discuss the necessity of these kinds of resources. Are you comfortable that your partners, your shareholders, your professional managers understand how to identify a request for Family Medical Leave Act leave? Let me share with you how it won't be made. My name is Michael Cohen. I've worked for your firm for 12 months. I have worked 1,250 hours in the preceding 12 months. Pursuant to the Family Medical Leave Act of 1993 and all regulations promulgated thereunder, I hereby declare my entitlement to 12 weeks of job-protected unpaid leave. That's not how they're made. If you ever have an employee who comes to you and requests FMLA like that, run away as quickly as you can. That person's name is plaintiff. They're suing you. Here's how they're made. My child was just admitted to the hospital for mental health concerns. I need to be able to be available to them to help provide care. That's an FMLA request. But the person didn't say FML or A. Didn't say I need a leave of absence. What the Department of Labor assumes is that employees have absolutely no knowledge about what their entitlements are with regard to the FMLA, and it is our obligation to let them know. Do your partners, do your shareholders, do your professional managers understand how to identify a request for leave under the FMLA or an accommodation under the ADA relating to mental health? PTO. Somebody disagree with the following statement, please. employees are more effective and happier when they take time away from work. No one's going to disagree with that because it is fundamentally true. Have we talked in our firms at all about mandating PTO? A certain amount of PTO. If we know we can do something to help the employee help themselves, why would we not do something like that? Enhance benefits offerings. Now, do I think the enhancement of benefits offerings helps? Of course it does. It's time to start shaming some insurance companies, threatening some insurance companies that unless and until they start providing meaningful coverage with regard to mental health, we're going to go find someplace else. But what are we doing? Creating a healthy culture becomes incredibly important. And from my perspective, the benefits offerings are crucial, but creating this culture of listening, embracing the hard conversations, ensuring that our leaders understand how to recognize, getting in the damn hole. Those are the kinds of steps that we all can take, that we all should take, that we all have to take to ensure that the people with whom we work, who work for us, make sure that ourselves are paying an awful lot of attention to our mental health concerns. So I will pause because we are at 46 minutes. I apologize, Rich, for going over by 60 seconds or so. And I guess we can take a moment to see if there are questions or thoughts in the chat.
Here's a question right here. What's the best way to train managers, individuals, or in groups?
So I guess the question is, what kind of training? If we're talking about educating leaders on the kind of topics that we just talked about for the last 45 minutes or so, I think group education is helpful. I think people very often in the law firm environment, one of the reasons I love the ALA so much is when you're surrounded by people in the same industry, they can share experiences. And I think the same thing happens inside of your firm. Each of your partners, each of your shareholders, each of your professional managers, all of your employees have had different experiences. And I think to the extent people are comfortable in this kind of a group setting, I think it's more effective. Now, there may be times where, notwithstanding the provision of meaningful education, that you have leaders who just don't or won't do it. At times, those people need to be talked to individually. This is the firm culture. This is what our expectation of you is as a leader. You are not meeting or complying with those expectations. We're here to help you, and here's what it needs to look like. Hopefully that's a fair answer.